So today we're going to find out how to deal with defensive aggression, and we're going to do that by looking at DRX versus PRX. And this can apply both to your ranked games and professional games as well, because PRX, if you know anything about them, you probably know that they are the team that consistently presses W and does not let go. They are extremely and unrelentingly aggressive in all aspects of the game, and that happened in this game as well. But DRX, the Korean team, are regular scrim partners of PRX, and so understood them a lot better than, say, the Guard or G2, an NA and an EMEA team did, who, when they played against those teams, PRX, they seemingly had no idea how to counter that aggression, but DRX dealt with it for the most part very well. And so we're going to take a look at some clips from all three maps and how DRX managed to solve the PRX aggression problem. But we're actually going to start with round 17 here on Haven, which is a round that doesn't go well for them, and I'll explain why that is. So, taking a look at the map, first of all, you can see here, again, straight away, we've got the Jet and the Reyna. They're just pressing W. They're ready to go and attack. And we're going to get a Sovereign here from in a site towards a main as well. That's going to, you know, cause some problems here in the lobby for DRX. And whilst that's going on, we're also going to get the Omen pushing at the same time. So a lot of aggression coming out. So let's take a look at how it goes. And you can see straight away, DRX do have some ideas. They put this Killjoy Nanoswarm out early to try and stop this aggression, but that isn't enough. And so what's going to happen is we're going to get trades back and forth from each side. And we end up in this 3v3, actually. 2 kills coming in for each side. But what's about to happen is not ideal, because the Omen is going to come on the big flank and manage to get the kills. And I just want to show you some of the important points here of how that managed to happen, right? And how this Omen managed to win them the round. Because as these trades come in, the crucial point here is that Buzz dies. And the thing is, Buzz had a Killjoy alarm bot right here. Just when MyFreak was just about to hit that alarm bot, he died. And this is the first point that I want to make. That if you are playing a Sentinel against PRX, you have to be the one that plays safe, and you have to live. Okay, this happened a lot to G2, where Mixwell playing Chamber, particularly on Split, he was often the first to die, and it really cost them, because they had no flank protection whatsoever. And so in this instance, I can kind of forgive Buzz, because it is a Sova role and it's a bit different. But in general, if you are playing the Sentinel role, you have to play super safe. And the second mistake that they make is from RB here, who decides they put a Sova dot in here to check for any aggression from this side, but there was no one there, and so he thinks, oh, this is free, we've dealt with the aggression, and he just runs off, you know, thinking, oh, it's time to execute onto the site, let's go. But obviously that is not the case, and that is not what's happening, and he abandons his team, and no one is looking behind, and that is a crucial issue that ends up really costing them this round, because he ends up in a 3v1, and eventually what happens is he's going to get traded by Benkai, as he doesn't know where these players are, and so when this smoke fades, he, you know, basically just has to worry about every single angle under the sun and dies to Benkai, and they lose the round. But now let's look at a round that DRX did deal with the aggression very well, and that's round number 15. And this is how you might want to play, by the way, if you're getting some defensive aggression in your ranked games, because what's going to happen is we have a kind of default look from the side of DRX that, you know, basically to have someone, you know, kind of looking at every angle, making sure that there is no early aggression, and that's absolutely fine. But then, because PRX play so extreme, they're going to take it to the next level. And this is what teams like the Guard and G2, I don't think were willing to do enough. They weren't willing to play PRX to the extreme degree. And that's really what cost them, because those teams both held defaults as well. But it didn't really work for them because PRX don't play like normal amounts of aggression. They play extreme amounts of aggression. So you have to be willing to play extreme yourself. So what's happened is we've got this Omen smoke here from the side of DRX. Very defensive Omen smoke, right? You know, making sure that there's no push down this C long angle. And then what's going to happen is they see this Sova dart is in here, and that is the cause for concern. So they identify where the aggression is likely coming from at this point. They've got the Killjoy set up towards mid, and as soon as they identify that, look, they start tucking in and really start to play as a tight-knit group here. Okay, they play super close together, and that is to make sure that if there is any aggression from anywhere, you know, they will be able to trade it. They will be able to fight as a team no matter what. And this is the kind of thing that those other teams just weren't willing to do. They would just hold their normal defaults for a long time, and that's not how you can play. You have to play like this, where you spot an early sign of maybe some aggression, play tight-knit, very tight-knit as a group, and go from there, basically. And what's going to happen is they're actually going to drone here from this super deep position again, because they know that the aggression is probably on this A side, and so that's what they do. And so when they identify that the jet is there, and that they're ready to kind of go for this, what happens is they send in this Sova dart as well to check for more aggression, and we just get a utility dump, and then they're all here. Literally all 5 players are in the A lobby there, and so they're able to trade the kills, and that is what you have to be willing to do. You literally have to just stack up a lot and be willing to trade those kills, use your utility in super deep positions that you normally wouldn't. It seems weird, it seems extreme, you wouldn't normally do this, but when you're playing against a team like PRX, that is how you succeed. And let's just quickly touch on round number 21. And in this instance, what I want to show you again is look at how deep this killjoy setup is. Okay, look, normally the turret in pro games gets placed on this box so that it can watch that and watch this. The problem is that that turret is pretty useless against PRX because, yeah, they're going to push here anyway, and they're going to punch you, and you don't want to be peeking into them that early on. And so this killjoy turret becomes super, super deep instead because they're just expecting this aggression. And as we actually run the round forward, we're going to see that they deal with it. Look, aftershock straight away. Run through that. You know, they want a bit of A short control, so they aftershock it at the very first part of the round. And then look at this. They send in this weird Sova dart that I think Jing gets a bit surprised by. The killjoy turret then spots him, and as soon as that happens, that's Buzz's go to swing, because obviously he's going to be somewhat preoccupied with that very deep killjoy turret. And so that is, again, just, you have to be willing to use this utility against your opponents. You know, you have to be willing to play their game somewhat and actually adapt to what's going on in the game, which DRX I think did pretty well here, and using that utility super early just to get even a small amount of control. And now let's come to bind, and what's going to happen here on round number 9 is we're going to get a 3-man push down the side of B long here. And again, I just want you to watch how deep Buzz is willing to play and how much space he is willing to give up to not give up his life. And so again, we see some early utility as well to try and get some early control of Shower. But here comes the push, and look, he's willing to literally just run away into his own spawn to not have to deal with the fight there. And this is something, again, that I think those other teams, they weren't willing to do. But here's the thing about PRX, you know, they're used to fighting people in this area, sure, but they don't really feel comfortable in pushing it any further because the problem is, I mean, at this point, you know, in this area, there can be a lot of trap setups. You know, you have to look both ways. It's very difficult. Whilst that's going on, we have actually had a Yoru ult on the other side of the map that have spotted 3 players. Again, all tight-knit, all playing together, checking if there's any aggression. That's what it's all about. And they just send a sky flash into Showers there, and it spotted someone. So what they do is they call an extra player over because they want to deal with Showers. That's where they want to go. But they never go there before getting some information. We saw it with the Sova drone before. This time it's the Skydog that they send into Shower. That will be, you know, how many people are actually there? You know, should we push into this or not? That's going to be the call. It gets killed by Benkai, and they sense like, oh, why are you peeking so aggressively there? To deal with it, it probably means that there's someone in that corner. And so again, we get a utility dump. We get Raise Nade, we get Sage Slow. Jing is just about able to get out, but they sense it. And then they deal with it. And again, they send in more and more utility there. They end up killing Forsaken. But whilst that's going on, we've actually had a double teleport play from the side of PRX. So they sent both the Sky and the Brim through this teleporter to try and create this sort of trap. But again, the side of DRX were more than ready for it. Stacks here on Sky, he's been just staring it down, you know, waiting for that. Essentially, he was just waiting for this, just looking at this the whole way, and he's able to deal with it and get 2 kills. And then from there, they're able to mop up this round, finding this next kill on Jing, and then eventually they will kill Benkai at the end of the round as well. As we run this forward, they go to the other site, they end up planting the spike, and as Benkai comes out here, they're going to do a nice little bait and switch with the Stacks is going to just quickly peek him, and if Benkai can hurry up and get towards the site, there you go, Stacks peeks him, and then they double swing, and a nice round win for DRX. And now let's come to round number 12. And again, one thing that DRX very rarely did was leave someone just completely isolated on their own with no help or escape. Which again is something that G2 and the God I think did a bit too much, where one player would often get picked off. because they'd be holding that default but be on their own and didn't know how to deal with, 4 people coming at them, all using utility on them. So that was kind of the problem. But DRX, as you can see, they've got 4 people grouped up here, and even if the aggression came towards Mako here, he I'm sure would have time to run back here and be able to get out and get to the rest of his team very early. So they were more than willing to do that. And again, what we're going to see is they get a very early Sage Slow down here, and they're going to be ready to make these trades because they're going to group up as a 4, and then they're even going to raise ult as well just to clear it at the very end. So they send out a Sky Flash, as you can see, well timed, and they had the Sage Slow, and they're more than ready to trade these kills. And as I said, RB eventually pops this raise ult as well, just to make sure that it's fully clear. And then as we run this forward, obviously at this point they're in a 4v2 against worse guns. It should be a pretty simple win from here on out. They know that they're both here at this point, and so again, they don't panic in this situation or anything like that because they're actually going to take the teleporters instead. Mako's able to win one fight, but he gets traded. But as I said, they take the teleporter to the other side of the map, and they're ready to plant on this A site instead. And Jing here on the side of PRX, he's actually going to live for a little while, but eventually he is going to die here as Stax comes and stabs him in the back. And now let's finally come to Ascent and take a look at round number 3. And again, we've got this aggression coming from PRX. They smoke this off, they send the flash down, they have a Sova dart, and that is enough of kind of a warning to where the reaction of this Sova and Chamber is to instantly run away. Run down mid, right? Just straight up run it down mid. And if we take a look at what happens in this round, they're just going to go fast, right? They know that there's been some aggression on A, so that means that there should be gaps elsewhere, and there is in mid, and they're able to get there nice and early. They're able, Buzz is here, able to trade out quite a few kills himself. This 4th kill is a bit absurd because he's absolutely flashed. I think both people were flashed, but he ends up getting that kill. Then Forsaken is actually able to find a 1v1, but Mako here is really the master of a 1v1. If we just come to the map, I'll show you that he's actually going to come towards the A site instead, and he's going to get the spike down. And then Mako is an absolute master of this because he puts down this smoke in the middle of the site, and this is a really just ingenious thing because he often will play inside those smokes, and so it always keeps in the back of Forsaken's mind he could just pop out the smoke at any time, but instead he's gone to hell, and he manages to win the round for DRX. But again, just running away from that aggression and going fast elsewhere will often be a good choice. And now let's come to round number 8, and I want you to just take a look at what happens here, because again we get an early Sky Flash here to just confirm that there is someone there. They see a Sova dart on this B side, and they feel like there might be some aggression on this side, so again they send out this jet smoke. Then they do a jump peek very deep, and they see that it's the jet there. Okay, and then as soon as they see that the jet is the one that's there, what's going to happen as we run this forward is they're going to do something that I think, again, most teams just would not do because it just feels weird and they don't like it, is they're going to send in this Skydog from way downtown. All the way back here is where they send this Skydog in because they just want this B main control. And this Skydog is just going to clear this area for them, okay? And that's all that they want from it. Now again, most teams at this point would say, oh, you can't Skydog from that far back, you don't get enough control from it. But against PRX, it is worth it 100%. And again, it's something that you might want to consider doing. They're on Forsaken before he really realizes that there can be people that close to him, and then they begin to enter the site. They send in a Sky Flash, they jet dash in, RB's able to get a kill. They're then able to trade RB with Jing there, and okay, they end up in this 4v3. It does become a 3v3, I think, in time. But then, yeah, they're going to get down in onto the site. And again, PRX aren't used to defending in these areas. This isn't where they're really used to. And My Freak ends up dying there. We get a Killjoy lockdown. And again, I love what happens here, because as soon as they plant, what we're going to see is all 3 people sprinting up here, playing as a team again to destroy this Killjoy lockdown. They're ready to trade out the kill. And that's exactly what they do. They end up in a 2v1. And again, this macro smoke is such a bait, because again, he often does play in these smokes. And you can see that that's what they expect. But it's all just really a bait for Stax this time to come and get the kill. And now let's come to round number 10, and this is perhaps the most impressive round of all. And if I was a coach with a team here that's coming up against PRX, this is the round that I would show them in how we are going to try and deal with PRX here, because what we're going to see from PRX is we're going to get an Omen Flash down here. We're going to get a Sova Dart in here. The Jet's going to come and be aggressive towards the site. I think we're going to get a KO Flash over there as well. And they're going to be aggressive towards this side of the map. The thing is, though, they deal with it very well, these three players, and let's just run it forward to see how they deal with it. You can see that PRX are already pinging down there. They send in a Sky Flash early to check there's no aggression there, but then, as I mentioned, you know, the aggression comes, so they send out double jet smokes to protect them, and they just run away. Okay, they're just gonna run out and make sure that no one is there. They're gonna get back over here and make sure that they are safe and living. The problem that they have is, this is the one mistake they kind of make in this round, is that actually Zest makes a pretty big mistake, is he thinks that they are pushing down here and so that he can maybe catch across. The problem is he then peeks into them, which is the mistake, and he pays for that with his life, because as the smoke fades, Forsaken takes his head off. So now that's a problem, because that was the spike as well. And so DRX know PRX pretty well. They probably know that Forsaken was going to try and push the spike. And so what they do, in fact, let's go back earlier before, actually, because these two players were jump peeking this angle. That's how kind of, you know, worried they are about some of this. But what they're going to do is they're going to send in the Skydog through this smoke just to clear everything and to try and retrieve the spike. And so they check them to corners, make sure no one's there, and they retrieve the spike. But this is where the genius, and I think DRX knowing PRX, this is where the kind of genius came into this round. And I mentioned before that often what will happen is, if, you know, they've seen aggression and they felt the aggression coming towards here, that was the original plan, that a lot of teams will go fast towards the other side. And PRX are used to that. You know, anytime their aggression comes to the wrong side of the map, they're used to fast rotating to the other side because, you know, they're getting aggressive on the other side of the map. PRX, that's completely normal to them. And so generally what happens is PRX can get a bit fixated on something because they think that might be the plan. And so that's exactly what happens here as we run this forward. Because what's going to happen is they're going to give the spike to Sky, and the Sky's going to walk up to A main here, and then going to Sky ult out of here. Okay, and that's going to sell this idea that what's happened is that DRX have picked up the spike and they want to go fast A. You know, that they want to get into this A site. And PRX, by it, hook, line, and sinker, you can straight away tell by the reaction of these three players, everyone on their team pretty much gets fixated with A main. They just, it must be A main, you know. Oh, we wanted to push B. They Sky ult out of A main. They must be pushing A main. But in reality, the Jet and the Astra here are gonna walk down mid. Okay, so what happens is we get a ton of utility used on the site to try and delay them, and these two DRX players almost are like, oh yeah, you stopped us, you know, oh, we can't get in, and they Sky Flash, and oh, you know, it's overdone, oh, can't get in. But in reality, this is what they were waiting for, because this smoke fades and they get a free kill. And now all of a sudden it's a B split, and whilst that's going on as well, we're going to get an Astra ult on the back of the site. There it goes. And the Jet now is entering in onto the site. Okay, so now they're ready. You know, now they're actually ready to make this push, and they punish the fact that they knew DRX would get fixated on an angle. But again, they're more than aware. They didn't just think, oh, we've got site. Phew, good job, guys. Round one. Mako is more than aware that they're still playing against PRX. Forsaken probably is still wanting to get aggressive. And he punishes him for it, and then they're able to win the round with the last kill on Benkai as well. A very, very well played round by the side of DRX there, and I think that, again, this is how you can punish PRX, is once you've dealt with that initial wave of first aggression, send in a little fake jab and go elsewhere, and you can really punish them.